You've passed the trees. You're feeling buzzing. But you're back in Hereford, and there's still a long way to go. A long, long way to go. But first, when you get back to Hereford, I'm telling you now, your body is in proper clip. Proper clip, all right? Double clip. Clip and chips, all right? It really is. I felt, I had sort of like, I'd lost so much weight. Even though I'd ate as much as I could. The jungle really did take it out of my body. There was fawns coming out of me for weeks and weeks and weeks after I got back from the trees. You get like a little spot appears, and then you get it goes a little bit pussy, and then you sort of like push it, and then a fawn will come out. And usually the bigger the spot, the longer the fawn. But it's such a nice feeling getting those fawns out of you. You got that bump, and it little comes out, pop. Lovely. Anyway, I digress. I'm going to talk about what happens next. Where do you go from the trees? Because the trees really has tested you to the limit as a soldier. It's shown you everything you need to know, really, at that stage to operate within the sort of like auspices and surrounds that you're going to find yourself in should you be lucky enough to get to a Sabre squadron, all right? So, it's tested you mentally, it's tested you physically, and it's pushed you to the limits and your boundaries. Now, you can't just keep going at that pace, all right? You would not be able to keep going at that pace. So what they do is they fit in like a period now for about 2 weeks where you do some heavy weapons training, you go on the ranges, and you actually, now the DS are treating you slightly differently. You've still got to be wary of the fact that you could be chopped away at any stage, but it's not as bad or as intense as in the trees. And I think they deliberately take the foot off the gas at this stage slightly so that you can breathe. For instance, in the evenings, you would probably now go downtown and maybe have a couple of beers. Whereas before, even on the trees, although I went out for a couple of Guinnesses now and again on the hills phase, you wouldn't want to see anybody see that you were going down the pub or that. Do you know what I mean? But now, you were given on your do's and don'ts a list of places that you could and couldn't go in Hereford. You weren't allowed to drink in the same bars as the Blades, but you were allowed downtown. So you could go downtown, have a couple of beers, relax, have yourself a pizza, sit in a restaurant, all that sort of stuff. And, if you saw a member of the DS, you didn't have to hide or run away or, do you know what I mean? It'd be all right, mate. Do you know what I mean? You'd be okay. You weren't out of the woods, as you say, although you were out the trees. You weren't out of the woods in terms of passing selection. So, things were slightly relaxed. And on the ranges now, although there was a learning environment, you were doing stuff like the 50 cal, you were doing the grenade launchers, you were doing bits and pieces that were really cool and really fun. It was a more relaxed affair on the ranges. Like, for instance, when we did the 203 grenades, we had a really good laugh doing them. Do you know what I mean? We were putting them all over the place. Ding, ding, ding. I even mortared one like ding. It was a proper good laugh. And we had a bit of fun. And the DS actually showed themselves in a more humane way as perhaps they had come across in the trees before. And you could actually talk to them now and have a bit more of a sort of like conversation with them, a bit more candid than probably you had done before. So that feeling within this 2 weeks now was all right. I haven't passed selection. I know I've got a way to go, but I am now, my soldiering skills have been looked at. They have been looked at in detail, and people are fairly happy that I can perform, and I'm still on the course. So, yeah, lots to feel good about. Like I say, lots of different opportunities to let yourself down. If you go downtown and make a fool of yourself, you could easily find yourself down the road just as quick as if you make a fool of yourself in the jungle. All right, so you've got to be mindful the whole time, but you're cutting around now in a good place. The ball temporarily is in your court. All right. However, towards the end of that 2 weeks, you start hearing about the combat survival phase. And that's going to be a difficult phase. You're going to face more hardship. You're going to be tested to the limit. You're going to have things taken off you and all that sort of stuff. You're going to be operating in a strange way, and the lessons start to now swing around to survival and to other bits and pieces surrounding survival. You get a few lecturers in now. We had Ray Mears came in and spoke to us, took us out for a couple of days. Great guy with starting fires. He could start a fire in the bathroom. That bloke. Do you know what I mean? He was limited in other areas, and I did have a little bit of an argument with him because he was teaching us about smoking fish. And I said to him, Ray, where exactly behind enemy lines am I going to smoke this fish? You know what I mean? Because it might be a bit of a giveaway, all this smoke coming off, and I'm supposed to be holed up hiding behind enemy lines. So, yeah, maybe your smoked fish is lovely if you like smoked fish and you're in a permissive environment, but behind enemy lines, you'd probably swerve it, Ray. You'd probably swerve it, wouldn't you? All right, so that was that. So you started having these lessons, I think we talked to a couple of down pilots and that sort of stuff, and, things where you were getting into this mood. And then you move to an area and you start doing the survival stuff. I remember you all moved into this area. You got given a chicken, which was your responsibility to look after until it was time to eat it. I called mine Cluckles, and I shared it with a guy. I won't say his name on here because he probably wouldn't appreciate me. But we shared Cluckles, and actually my mate didn't want to kill Cluckles when the push came to a shove. But I was quite keen because I do like a bit of chicken meat. Do you know what I mean? And Cluckles provided us with a couple of eggs while we were in the pen and all that sort of stuff. And we learnt all this stuff, and we looked at all these different funguses and plants, and Cluckles looked better and better, I'm going to tell you. Do you know what I mean? Cluckles would probably have liked it if I was a vegan, but no, Cluckles, no luck for you, son, because I'm definitely not a vegan, all right? So Cluckles didn't have much of a chance, and on the day, I think my mate tried to rescue Cluckles, but nah, I wasn't having it. I'll give him the old Evo, and his neck broke in two, accidentally, of course, and we ate Cluckles. Cluckles was very nice. He was a little bit skinny by that stage, and we didn't. I remember when we opened him up, we got another 2 eggs out of him, because I didn't notice chickens stack up the eggs. So you get the one that drops out, then there's probably one behind it, then there's one a little bit softer, then there's sort of like a row of like little all the way down, sort of like the evolution of the egg all the way in these. So that's what we've. Oh, there's more eggs. So we had a bit of an omelette that day, which was quite nice. So Cluckles yielded quite well for us. Not only did we get sort of like a breast each, a leg each, we also got sort of like a half an omelette each as well, which was very nice. So you learnt all these skills. You learnt loads of bits and pieces. All based around finding water, shelter, warmth, heat, food, all that sort of stuff. So all the traditional stuff. We did a bit of navigation in the stars, bit of this, bit of that, bit of the other. All your procedures should you ever find yourself lost and having to try and get older people, and all the stuff that you need to know if it happened for real. All very, very useful, very cool stuff. And then I remember at the end of that week, we started getting lessons about interrogation, and we got shown videos, and we spoken to people that had been interrogated and been captured and all that sort of stuff. And I think John Nichol came down, who was the pilot who was out of the tornado. He spoke to us. We had a couple of other people, who'd been in similar situations, and we spoke to a few people that were interrogators and all that sort of stuff. And they explained to us the methods used and all that sort of stuff. Very, 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 very interesting. Can only say I learnt so much on that phase, because it's not something I'd ever done anywhere else before, really. And at this stage now, there was a couple of pilots on the course with us. They weren't obviously they hadn't been through the trees and all that sort of stuff, but they were on this course. They were doing it with us. So they brought another element to things, which you could talk to them in the evenings. It just made a different change of face and all that sort of stuff. So again, I was enjoying it. And this is one thing I have taken throughout the whole of selection, really, genuinely. If you're enjoying it, that's the time to carry on. If you stop enjoying it, you should really think about lifting off, because it's not going to get easier. It's never going to get easier. And if you have to do some of this stuff for real, it's going to get a lot harder, all right? So, yeah, I was still enjoying it, having a great time, and learning so much. You just take so much in these stages. Anyway, they got us all together, and we were all having a lecture, and they said, right, one at a time, you've got to go and process some paperwork. So you're going to be going down there to one of the buildings on where we were. You're going to be going into the building, and you've got to go and sign some paperwork for you to be able to carry on with the next part of the course. I'll tell you what happened in that building next time, all right? Until then, I'll see you later on. But look forward to the next one of these, because it gets tasty.